Welcome back to another episode of DIY Golf Car Garage. Today we're continuing working on our 2010 Club Car Precedent. Today we're going to be installing this nice brush guard up front, which is going to take the place of the OEM bumper. And on the back side of it, we have two areas here we can actually mount lights. And yes, we actually do have lights. We've got a set of LED lights. So first, let's get these mounted to that. Okay, the first thing we want to do is go ahead and remove this mounting bracket. We'll do that by removing the nut on the bottom of the light fixture. And we'll reuse the lock washer and the nut. We'll actually mount the light to the inside of this brush guard. And we'll do this to both sides. Okay, now that we got the lights mounted, for a nice clean look, what we're going to do is we're going to take the wire and run it down the hole that's already in the bracket and run it down through it and coming out the bottom. Now, in order to do that, what I've done is what I normally use for a wire puller is this little steel wire that is 20 gauge. 20 gauge wire. I've got about a 2-foot cord out here. What we're going to do is go to the end of the wire. I'm going to get electrical tape and wrap around it. Now I'll run this through the holes. Now let's do the other side the same way. Okay, before we actually mount the bumper up front, we're going to go ahead and start back here underneath the seat, and let's start getting the wiring ready. We'll run the wiring from the batteries underneath the floor mat, go ahead and put our switch in and run our wires up front. First thing I want to do is take out the 2 bolts here that hold this kick panel on, so that I can run my wire underneath it and into this, through this cavern here, so get it out of the way. Okay, just to give me a little bit more room, I went ahead and took out the 4 bolts that hold the body down. That gives me a way I can actually pull up on the body, be able to get my hand in there a little bit to get the bottom part of this wire. Once again, I need this wire here so I can pull the actual cable that we're going to be using, hooking up to the batteries, down through the bucket, underneath the body, and up underneath the dash. So what I want to do now is take this wire, and on the inside of the bucket, right in the center, there's a hole. I'm going to run this wire right down inside that hole, wind it towards the front, and it should come out right in here. There we go. Now I can put my red cable, my black cable, tape it to the end of this, and just pull it back through. Now leave me just enough up here to run to battery 1 positive and battery 2 negative. But we're not going to hook those up just yet. Okay, to keep everything neat and secure, I went ahead and replaced the 2 bolts to keep our kick panel. I've replaced the 4 bolts that holds the body in place. Now we're going to run the black and red wire, which is our positive and ground, through this indentation in the floor, all the way up underneath the dash. Next, we're going to take this little dash panel out and put us an on and off switch, and then we can run the wires up to the front. Okay, now right before I get into this panel and take these 3 bolts out, this is dealing with the electrical part. Make sure that you remove any type of jewelry, and make sure that you run and put the car into the tow position. We're good to go. Okay, for the lights up front, I went to the local hardware store and purchased me a simple little on-off light switch. We'll be mounting it here on the dash. On each side of the main switch, there's a little indentation. Or to use this indentation, I'm going to drill here at this one. It actually gives me an idea of a good open area in the back for a switch. And of course I'm going to go in first with my pilot hole. Okay, now I'm going to take my ground wire or my negative lead and go ahead and run it through an opening here behind the dash and pull it out underneath the front cowl. Next, I'm going to take the positive lead, leave me enough wire to go around and over here to the switch so I can hook it up to the switch, and then from the switch up to the front so I can hook it up to the lights. Okay, now let's remove the front bumper. Okay, before we can actually install the brush guard, this top plate needs to be turned over so this lip is actually going up instead of down. So let's get this thing turned over. Okay, now before I actually mount the brush guard to the bumper extension, we have our wires coming in here from the switch and from the batteries. And we have our wires here from our lights. What I'm going to do now is put a butt connector on the red and black so I can run it over to this side. And what I'm going to do is take the red wire, trim it off, and have it come over and put it in the other side of the butt connector so that they'll all run together. That way it's going to have a nice clean look and a lot less wires. Now if you want to make this as watertight as possible, try soldering and then using heat shrink. With this golf car, although it looks like it can go off-road, it more than likely will never. Now that I get the wiring done, go ahead and take the bracket, put it inside here, and we're actually going to squeeze the bracket onto the brush guard. That's where these 4.5-inch bolts come in handy. Okay, now let's go ahead and hook up the lights to battery 1 positive and battery 2 negative. Well, I hope today's video was helpful in installing a brush guard with new LED lights. And as we could tell with our headlights versus our LED lights, the LEDs are much, much brighter. Remember, all the parts and accessories we install are available for purchase on our website, DIYGolfCart.com. Be sure to look us up and like us on Facebook. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And don't forget to subscribe. And once again, thank you for visiting us here at DIY Golf Car Garage.